Hello, everyone, and we're live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. My name is Tim Mikilashvili, CEO of Amadeus Pharma, host of the Medical Innovation Olympics for the fourth year in a row. I'm here with my special guest, Chris Piedmonte, our expert judge, speaker, investor as well, managing director of NeoTerra Capital. And we're here to talk to you about why the Olympic fever and the anticipation is heating up. We're only days away from the Olympic trials, May 26th. So we'll talk about all the key dates, who should attend, why, and all. And now's your chance to ask questions from Chris, from me as well. Chris, welcome. Thanks again for supporting this event, first of all.
Oh, yeah, of course, Tim. You're always welcome. I think we should have a little sidebar conference and contest and who can properly say Mikilashvili, right? I even struggle with it as long as I've known you.
Well, you did great there. So, appreciate that. Well, this has been a global event. It's virtual. And it's when you think about innovation, what are all the requirements for innovation? And you have extensive experience in mentoring a lot of successful startups and founders. From my perspective, just to get the conversation going here, from among a lot of the competitors who I know are attending this session here and learning about this event, I think innovation certainly requires a lot of risk, courage, a lot of time, and also focus. That's dedicated. And this is what we kind of wanted to create in a focused kind of environment, and feedback as well, right? Real-time feedback, because you can say, to someone, yes or a no decision. That no decision gives you time to pursue other prospects, but it's maybe and not receiving any feedback and not knowing where that feedback comes from that holds a lot of innovation behind. And these are all the kinds of ingredients and attributes of innovation that we consider and we're trying to address in this Olympic workshop that you will not forget. That'll be different from anything else. But Chris, before we run into the details, just a few maybe top line comments on innovation. What's critical about innovation? What makes this event unique?
Yeah, I mean, that's by the way, that's a subject we could do an hour on. So I'll try and be brief. I mean, innovation. Generally, when people say innovation, they simply think about discovery. A lot of times they think it's about new technologies or new science and things like that. But innovation is not just about the new technical side. Innovation can come from what other people may consider relatively mundane things, finding a better way to do something, or how to apply something that's been known for a very, very long time to a different market or a different need is also innovative. So we look for that too, especially at NeoTerra. I mean, my interest is in the new, and whether that's new technologies, new ways of business. We talked about. Even new markets. I mean, innovation can occur simply because you're addressing a market that wasn't accessible before, didn't exist before, or for whatever reason has now become available that wasn't there. All of these things play into innovation, and the key to pursuing innovation, quite frankly, for the most part, is persistence. Whenever you try to do something new, whenever you try to step away from the conventional, many people will tell you no. And it's a human nature to not want change because, going back, probably hundreds of thousands of years in our evolution, change was dangerous. Change meant you may not have a safe place to sleep or food to eat or clean water to drink or, things like that. So those of us that, pursue the new, that are looking for change, are a bit of a different breed. And it does take that willingness to go over the hill and see what's on the other side, the desire to believe that things can be better, and to pursue it in a way that you can take the negative feedback you're getting not as you shouldn't be doing this, but to figure out how to overcome those objections and take whatever product, service, approach you're taking and demonstrate to someone that no, there really is something better here. And that's the challenge. That really is the challenge. It's the combination of the discovery, the application, and the persistence. That to me is the essence of innovation.
Yeah. Well, publications are doubling every 73 days. There's a lot more medical information available for us to analyze and guide decisions. And so that's is one of the reasons why we also hold this event every year. And I usually say this every year, the speed of innovation in medicine and healthcare in particular is just increasing at such a rate that we need to have events like this, right? And so, okay, so let's start talking a little bit about the format and the event, what you can expect. Again, those competitors who have joined, please feel free to ask your questions. Any reservations you have, any questions, this is the time to do this. So here are our all-star expert judges who are going to review your ideas. We'll talk about the criteria later. So great mix of leaders across healthcare leadership, pharma, biotech, healthcare systems, healthcare quality improvement, investors, Christopher Piedmonte, Alistair Truger, researchers, John Hemming, and law, medical affairs expertise as well. So we have a lineup of speakers that are going to inspire you. They're going to accelerate innovation in healthcare and beyond. Gary Hamel, Olympians, Chris Cook, and maybe more. So stay tuned for details as well. All right. And so what are the categories? Well, we have a new category this year for the first time, and that is products. Okay, where we are differentiating from concepts and products. There's certain, some of our certain submissions are earlier stage, and they have to be evaluated appropriately as well. So we've taken that into account. Anything that's ready for deployment now, to implement, you'll submit it in the product category. We'll have 2 overall winners. They'll receive $5,000. And we have 6 innovation tracks, so more than we've had before. Drugs, devices, diagnostics, software, or med tech, if you will, would go into that innovation track. Services and medical affairs as well. Okay, the one theme that we have every year is we're accelerating the advances in healthcare. And access, continuity, and quality of healthcare. Okay, so someone in one country should have those expectations, same expectations as somebody who lives somewhere else geographically, for example, right? We're trying to bridge the gap in health equity in terms of access. We've had rare disease competitors previously as well. Okay, and we are looking for new ideas as well, right? Ones where you have either conceived the new product or concept since October of last year, or you've made significant changes to it. Okay, and this will all be evaluated by our judges. Once you register, if in the worst case scenario, for example, it's not feasible, you'll be invited to attend instead of compete. Okay, for example. Chris, what are some guidelines those who are watching this should think about in terms of what should they submit?
Well, I mean, clearly we're looking for the innovation, right? So the things I talked about earlier. Do you have a new technology or a new approach? Are you finding ways to apply things that have been known for a while to other problems or issues out there? But in general, if you have something in the medical space, with biopharma space, or healthcare, or any of the life sciences, where you believe you have something that, if brought to market, would make a significant change in the quality of care, in longevity, in overall health, or on the other side, allow healthcare practitioners and those in the field to do their jobs more efficiently, with higher quality, or in a way that in general results in better outcomes. These are certainly things that would apply. You could even be so esoteric as having a new way to distribute a drug in a undeveloped country where transportation or refrigeration is an issue, and you've solved that problem, so that drug now becomes available to people that normally would not be able to receive it simply because of logistics problems. That is innovation as well. So, anyone who's doing that type of work certainly should apply. As we mentioned, 2 tracks. Love looking at concepts. I really hope this year we have some people that are literally showing up and saying, "Hey, I've got an idea. I've got a great idea, and I want to compete on this idea, and I want to, to see how it survives through the competition and the scrutiny that they'll receive. While we examine their ideas and its practicality and its value." Products, though, also, things that are ready for launch, whether it's products or services. It's an exciting time when you go from all that work to get something created and built and then start to introduce it to the market. It's also, quite frankly, in my opinion, the most difficult. Many people point to the early days as the difficult days. I don't believe so. I think when you first engage with the market and are now responsible for bringing your products or services to market, and dealing with customers and distributors and vendors and all the things you need to do, that is the difficult time. That's the place where I think most companies are challenged. And talking about how to overcome those challenges, competing on the necessity of bringing a product to market, as we talk about our other track, is also something that's quite interesting and exciting. So even if you're not competing, if you are thinking about going into some type of innovation, or soon to bring a product or service to market, attending and just observing and being involved in the conversations could be a tremendous value. So always recommend that.
Yeah. So, I mean, what this session here today is really about an invitation, a personal invitation to all of you, as well as a challenge. A challenge to be courageous, to risk, to focus, and as Chris said, to also have tenacity, persistence as well, and to also have your voice heard. All right. So it's very important to make that first step, okay, and submit that idea, and we're providing that platform for you to do that now. And that brings me to the next question a lot of you may have, which is, who should submit? Okay, and so you need to have that voice. All right, and some of the best ideas, they don't come from someone who's necessarily in an administrative function, or they may, right, but they may come from someone who's close to the actual innovation or to the problem, who's closest to it on the front lines, or who has a different vision, for example. And that may be a student, it may be an intern, a fellow. Chris, what would you like to add here in inviting our future champions?
Yeah, I think you kind of touched on it, Tim, and it's a good point to make, is that you don't have to have a PhD. You don't have to have 10 years of business experience.
Yeah.
Okay. If you have something you think is worthwhile pursuing in your heart, that you say, I think I can create value, I think I can do good here, I think I can build something that will help people, and obviously potentially make a lot of money along the way as well, show up, apply. Most ideas don't do well in a vacuum. I can tell you from my own personal experience, there are some people I've been working with, quite frankly, for some of them for years, that are, for whatever reason, reticent to engage others. And it may be a fear of being criticized. It may be a belief that they already understand and fully have a sense of what they need to do and why they're doing it. But you'll find in both cases you're probably wrong. Engaging in conversation with people, particularly people that will push back on you, that will make you explain things, that will ask you to justify something that perhaps maybe you hadn't even considered, will strengthen your position and allow you to do a better job of developing whatever the concept of the product or service that you're bringing to market. That competition, that pushing back, is essential to having a good solution. I think I said to someone the other day, when I present an idea for something into a group of people and everyone says, Chris, that's great, let's do that, I get very nervous, because nobody's pushing back on me to expose the flaws in what I'm saying or what I'm thinking about. And there are flaws. There are absolutely flaws. Yeah. So as much as entrepreneurs need encouragement to overcome the challenges, because it's, once again, another subject, it's a challenging thing to do, and it can be quite stressful, and even some people can call it depressing. The pushback is necessary to refine and strengthen what you're doing, and without it, you will not have a complete, robust, potentially even successful solution as you would be with it. These Olympics are a place to get that.
Yeah, one of our past competitors, John Hemming, had actually mentioned that last year, that this is a place where debate is welcome. And so what are some of the key dates you guys have to remember? Those of you who are watching this, we're 5 days away from the Olympic trials. How do they take place? They're asynchronous, via email, online. You go on the link that's in our website, and I'll show you the website. It's also in the comments here. I posted it earlier. And you just submit that the proposal in a little bit more detail after you register for the event. The main event takes place in October, but the Olympic trials are going to be an opportunity for the top competitors to automatically qualify for the main event, for them to receive early feedback, get to know the judges, and ultimately, on the last day, June 6th of this year, you'll have a 5-minute presentation that's going to be live. It's going to be a private live stream, and you'll hear the actual grades, the scores immediately. So you'll have live feedback of not just the total scores, but also different attributes of your product or concept, and you'll walk away understanding why you received the scores you did, the areas that you need to improve on. Okay, early bird pricing ends July 31st. Okay, and the main event is in October. Okay, October 6th to the 21st. October 5th is the deadline to register. You're going to keep 100% of your intellectual property. There's going to be a waiver that you sign, and every competitor is limited to one submission. We want your focus on one concept or product. You may have multiple. We know how creative you are. So here's a little bit about the format as well. The opening ceremony will allow you the chance to hear from a lot of leaders. We're preparing expert panels from some of the top globally recognized leaders, industry experts, but also it's going to be a chance for competitors to introduce themselves very quickly, just 2-3 minutes, just introduce themselves, sponsors as well. And after that, every competitor has one presentation that they can add to the agenda. 10-minute presentation. We're going to limit it to 10 minutes. It'll be recorded. It'll be added to the agenda, and the judges will provide you with feedback, okay, throughout that week. All right, so it's up to you, your strategy to engage the judges, get their feedback, their insights, invite them, ask the right questions, okay? And after every week, the first week, there'll be voting, there'll be some eliminations, and the same thing happens during the second round, okay, beginning October 13th, where you have one more chance for a presentation that you record. You do it live, or you record it on demand, and it's added to the agenda. Invite everyone, and then there'll be a voting, on October 17th after the second round. And so after that, after the end of the second week, we'll have now a live streams, semifinals and finals. All right, so semifinalists will now present live with each other present, and with live voting as well. 10 minutes, once again, questions from the audience for 5 minutes, and the judges that you address, and then a final chance for a 2-minute closing basically presentation. And we'll determine 2 winners across products and concepts. Okay. Now, here are the voting criteria, all right, that we have. For the concepts, there are 5 different domains, okay, based on which you will be evaluated. Validity, predictability, causality. Is there causality established between what the problem that you're solving and the solution, the outcomes? Is this a novel concept? Are you approaching an existing problem in a new way? And then how practical is it? Right? Can it really be implemented? How quickly? What hurdles may there be? Right? So these are the 5 categories. Each of them are scored on 1 to 10 range of, from 1 to 10 for maximal scores of 50. Okay. For the products, so these are more mature products. If you are submitting a product, the 5 categories are solution, market, team, performance, and roadmap. So Chris, you talked a little bit about how more difficult and challenging it may be for a more mature product as well. Any other are there any other remarks you would make here in terms of the voting criteria? How should they approach this long competition? It's a quite intense competition. This is probably one of the most intense, but also most memorable competition that you'll attend, just based on the depth of the networking you guys will be able to form. But should they present different parts of their presentation at different stages, for example, or should they present the same? What tips do you have?
Let me help with that, because it's a very good question, and it's hard. Doing a short presentation is much more difficult than doing a long one, and that may seem counterintuitive, but it's not when you dig in a little bit. You have to figure out how to express the core essence of what you're doing in just a few sentences. That's difficult to do. Typically, we generally don't have our thoughts well organized, and we have a tendency to lay out a path that gets you from where you are to some general sense of what you're trying to convey. It doesn't work here. You have to be able to hone that down to its core essence and express it completely and succinctly in just a few sentences. Do not underestimate the amount of work it takes to do that properly. So I would certainly encourage them to focus on that, is getting their messaging down tight. The second thing is, people have a tendency to gravitate to what they are doing well. They're comfortable with it. They know it will resonate well with the audience, and they have a tendency to spend the majority of their time focusing on how to present that. That is also a mistake. The things that you're hesitant about presenting because they're incomplete, or you don't feel they are as advantageous as you'd like them to be, or have other flaws for whatever reason, these are the areas you really need to pay attention to. And you need to figure out, how do I shore this up? Or how do I present what I do have in the best possible light, with a path to improving it later as the business or the research or whatever it is that you're working on evolves. Also important, very rarely does a startup venture have everything it needs at the beginning. There's always something missing. There's always something that could be better. Clearly being able to identify and articulate that, bring those out into the light, and if you can't address immediately how you're going to improve them, at least have a plan as to how you're going to address improving. Mm-hmm. Typical example, team. I have my technologist, I have my leader, I have my salespeople, but maybe I don't have anyone who can figure out how to take this to market, or where we should be concentrating our efforts. Maybe I don't have someone who understands finance and business modeling. Mm-hmm. Okay. Simply even recognizing that you're short those resources is a step in the right direction. And you should take that into account. Anyway, these are the conversations we'll have with the competitors as the time goes on, and we're here to help refine their presentations and what they need to say, what they need to present, what the slides should contain, to give them that opportunity to present themselves in the best possible light as part of this competition.
And you're offering some private mentorship time, as well as Bart Zoni, another investor, executive in pharma, to the winners, right? Am I
absolutely.
correct?
Yeah, and I got to say, certainly $5,000 is nothing to ignore, but we all know it's going to take far more than that for many of these ventures to succeed. The value you're going to get out of this is the recognition and the help. it's worth 10, maybe 100 times, that cash prize. But you've got to show up, you got to participate, you got to be here. And I would even say that participating in itself has high value. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to meet a lot of people. Even if you don't, get through the entire competition, even if you don't win that first place $5,000 prize, plenty of value to be gotten along the way. And I encourage anybody who's thinking about doing something in this space that's innovative, or is in the process of bringing something out and will be soon taking it to market, or has, potentially already taken it to market, but maybe struggling a little bit. Attendance here will have tremendous value.
Yep. Great. Thanks, Chris. I want to make a few points in the last 5 minutes here. And that is, do not think that this is a startup pitch competition strictly. Okay. You don't have to be a startup. We've had plenty of pharma employees from Takeda, Astellas, Roche, Menarini Group, who have had, basically new systems or idea statements that didn't even have many slides, but they iterated their concepts. And so, and this is why, we're opening this competition up to products for startups or, business ventures, as well as the concepts. I do want to also point that out. And also, if you don't win, like Chris mentioned, there are a number of different attributes of ideas of your concepts or products that we will recognize and we will repurpose. So, and here they are, right? Most active ideators, who's actively engaged, who has some of the fastest, simplest concepts to apply, for example, right? Longest vision, right? Loftiest concepts. Now, previous winners have set a very high standard. We're committed to continuing that standard. So we're looking for some of the best ideas. This is the festival of ideas. All right. They've implemented their ideas in Olympic professional sports, their medical grade wearables, for example, medical guidelines and professional medical associations that have now implemented our previous winners' clinical decision support systems. In fact, a lot of these were not even winners. They were bronze medal winners, right? Or even competitors, but they've shown their tenacity and their results now, right? They've been called into the White House, been recognized to the White House for public health efforts, connected clinical trial patients to studies they wouldn't otherwise access. Okay, and so we've tackled global problems. Longevity medicine CEOs have spoken. Olympic gold medalists such as Gary Hall and a very active, type 1 diabetes patient advocate as well. All right. Our winners last year also had a chance to represent their countries, okay, in the Olympic trials from last year. So you're representing your organization, your business, your country as well. This is one of the advantages of having it virtually as well. We've had live Olympic trials as well. This is just a picture from a live event that we've held before. And in terms of just the exposure, Chris, there are going to be blog articles, in recognized different publications, all right, online, on LinkedIn,
yep,
across media. There's a lot of polls, exclusive content that we share and we provide opinions on in a continuous forum as well. And so this is the time now to continue to raise the stakes. We're looking for speakers, competitors, attendees as well. All right. And I want to show you where you can register very quickly. Okay. So here it is. This is the site where you'll be able to register, read more about the rules, the testimonies as well. I'll just show some of the testimonies here. Okay, I'll focus in on this from Chris Cook, who says the event pushes innovators in medicine to aim higher and solve not only immediate problems, but improve innovation longevity. We've had Bob Beeman, Olympic legend, world record holder, Gary Hall Jr. We talks about the intensity that you need, the challenge that you need in order to innovate. It pushes you, right? And Chris mentioned this last time and today too, a little bit as well. Okay, and here's Bart Zoni, our last year's sponsor, and again this year he's an expert judge and your mentor. You form a deep relationship with the startups, with the innovators. If you're a judge here as well, if you're an attendee also, right? And here's John Hemming, our last year's competitor, who talks about the fact that science needs to be debated to progress. And I think it's a beautiful quote, very well. I think captures the spirit of the event.
Absolutely. And Tim, we've managed to run out of time again for this.
Yes.
So I'm sure we'll do another session soon, talk more about how we actually conduct the event and more reasons why people should attend and who's going to be there, and we'll continue the conversation.
Yep, we are receiving lots of submissions already for the Innovation Olympic Trials, and we have 5 days to go. So go to the comment here on here and listen to this recording, share it with your friends, and stay tuned for more details. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. And apply. Yes. We want to see you here. Until next time, Tim. Thanks.
Thank you.